working on the online curriculum, which will give total transparency to what the parents will know about the curriculum. There'll be a letter that each grade, the parents can see, that'll be online, that they can see exactly what the kids are going to be doing. She's also coordinating so that ELA is doing similar things as what's happening in science or social studies, so that the curriculum goes across the board, and it makes ELA a lot more pertinent to the kids, what they're doing. We also are, and this is part of the budget, we are going to be something that was brought up earlier by the speakers here, was that for the gifted and talented program, that the kids, instead of going to the academy for math, we can handle that here at Ockett, and so the kids will be doing whether it's geometry, some kids, and some kids algebra. We can do that here. With foreign language, though, we're still going to be sending our kids to the academy so that they can have that advantage of taking one of 4 languages. We asked about the honors English placements, and it's been consistent. We've had, the kids have done okay, and there's going to be 11 kids placed in freshman honors. And that's what we discussed.
Thank you. Facilities and transportation, Savannah?
No.
Policy, Lynn?
We did meet this evening prior to the regular board meeting. Policies that were discussed were BE-R, board meeting procedure, voting clarified. That policy is just a review. We discussed BDE-R, standing committee operating procedures. That policy is set to go to second read, but I understand that there are some questions about that policy this evening, so we will get to those a little later. But we did clarify the date that we set committees, and just a few other clarifying language issues on that policy. Then we discussed, IJNDC school system website and web pages, and IJNDB student computer and internet use and internet safety. They are both being tabled to June for procedure clarification, although let me correct that. The internet use and internet safety is actually going to first read in June. IJNDB-R computer and internet rules will be going to first read in June. IJMD-BD-E personal device agreement was reviewed and accepted. IKE promotion, retention, and acceleration of students will go to first read in June, and ILA student assessments will also go to first read in June. And that's it.
Special education, Elisa? You did not meet. And personnel, didn't meet. We'll move on to the administrative reports. Thank you for providing those. Are there any questions for our administrators?
Danette, I have a question. Would you be willing to just expound on what is going to be happening for the middle school math and the teachers who will be teaching in the algebra and the geometry that we're planning to do here this year? Can you share some with us about that?
So should we continue in that way? We have our current 8th grade teacher who is their first.
I'm not laughing.
La, la, la.
Our current 8th grade math teacher, this year is her first year with us, has a long-standing history in teaching high school math, and so the plan would be to combine both of the GT students who are ready for algebra in grade 7 and 6 to 8, potentially more are ready to go for more challenging math. And she would be taking care of the algebra. Diane Connery would be taking, we have 3 7th graders who actually are finishing algebra this year, who would be going into geometry next year, and Diane would be, who currently is our GT math person who's been providing all of that instruction, would be doing so for those students.
And will those be held like as regular classes for them?
For the 3 GT students?
For both, for the geometry and the algebra
The
students.
algebra would be probably within the actual structure of the classes, and the way we do it now is that it's part of their schedule. So math, however it's arranged with whatever the 8th graders, those particular students go, that's where they go to their math. So it's not a pull out of any other opportunities that they would have, it's just part of their regular schedule.
And do you have any idea about what curriculum you will be using for those classes?
So should we go that way? One of the conversations, I mean, it's been asked of me, and I think we're totally open to that. We are still, obviously, still in the planning of everything, so, but I think, connecting with FA and see what they're using. I know that there's curriculum materials on site that have been used in the past, but certainly making anything that's gonna have a clear pathway to move it into math at high school level would be the best decision. Thank you. You're welcome. Sure.
So from what I understand, my daughter told me anyhow, is that because the GT class essentially goes to Freiburg Academy in 8th grade, is that basically how it works?
So this year,
This year?
the 8th grade GT students did go to Freiburg Academy to have algebra instruction. Last year, they had algebra instruction where an FA teacher came to our school and worked with Diane Connery, and they worked with those students together. And then prior to that, I actually will have to say I'm not really sure how it worked because
My daughter said that because of that, Mrs. Connery teaches, it affords a GT math class for 4th graders.
So this year, it's an accelerated math class for students who had higher scores that not necessarily were identified, but it was an accelerated 4th grade. That 4th grade occurred last year as well as a regular GT due to the number of the students who had been identified, even though Diane had the 8th grade coming as well. So the difference that we have this year is that Diane was able to split the 7th grade. Our 7th grades actually split our GT because we have some who are still working towards algebra. We have the 3 students who have completed it by the end of this year. Even within the GT structure, you have some differentiation. So, yes, so that there is opportunity for 4th grade. There was opportunity for 4th grade last year as well.
And there would still be, should we bring it all in-house?
I don't see a reason why not.
Okay. I'm just curious if it would sacrifice the opportunities for 4th graders if
No,
we
we
brought
had the
it
same
in-house.
structure last year. If it was in-house, we have the same structure. We're actually adding, should we move in this direction, I think we're adding a second body, so to speak, but another instructor who can take care of some of that load too.
Any more questions? Okay, we have our superintendent report next, and Raider Spotlight, and budget overview.
The Raider Spotlight for this month is a pleasure to announce, that would be Chris White. He is a custodian, the evening custodian at New Suncook in our crossing guard. The dedication of that man to show up rain or shine every morning, every afternoon, I don't think he's ever missed a day, literally. Amazingly dedicated, does a wonderful job, makes great contributions. We're very lucky to have him. I won't read it to you, but I would encourage you to do so. So we're very happy to recognize him with the Raider Spotlight this month. In terms of the budget, based upon the feedback at our workshop last month, you now have the finalized version of each cost center. I've given you summary documentation. So when it comes to the vote to approve the proposed budget down below, we can have any discussion you would like related to any of that information.
Okay, we'll move on to new business policies for first read.
I would like to make a motion to present the following policies for first read. AC-E, Title 9880 Coordinator Job Description. BDE-R, Standing Committee Operating Procedures. ID, the school day. IMDB, Flag Display and Patriotic Observances.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Again, I'll reiterate that these are not on policy, oh, Mike. I am the biggest complainer and I'm the defender.
You could like shimmy down.
Yeah, I can just sit down.
Policy is a committee that's so much work, and I don't want to sound like a problem here, but you bring them to us so that we can weigh in, I suppose, at this point. And I can talk a little bit about it, because I've been on this committee, the nominating committee, for so many years. It's a difficult task, and at the risk of sounding repetitive, I already did this, but there are some new people. We try to give everyone their choices. We try to make, all these rules that are in this new policy. This is a 4-page policy now, which most of the words say may, and we'll try, so it really doesn't help much, except for it gets it on paper, I guess. I just felt like a bunch of the stuff in the procedure, this is a procedure, really probably should go into the policy in terms of, you'll elect a chair, you'll take minutes, you'll post, those are policy stuff. And then some of the procedural stuff, which I got the draft template from the main school board, and it's a page and a half. And I just feel like it's a lot, and we're muddying up the waters, trying to fix every possible scenario, and there's more scenarios that aren't even in here. I mean, you're gonna go into a committee that you're on, and then that group is gonna decide when you're gonna meet, and there might be a conflict. I mean, you can't solve all of these problems with this procedure. So anyway, I'm fine if you wanna leave it. It just seems like we're going down this path, throwing more, mud at something that's just not fixable. I mean, one thing we could do, I don't know how it really works. If we do a first read and we take another look at it, it just doesn't go to second read, or I would propose that it doesn't go to first read, and take another look at it. I don't think there's any hurry, because the policy we have now still gives the board chair authority that she needs to do to set up a committee, or she can just put everyone on committees herself. So we don't need it right now. I just think the changes that were made, I don't understand why they were made. I think you were trying to clarify so that I don't get crucified again when the committees are put out there. Everybody's like, and it's not gonna really help, because it's gonna be just as hard. I don't think we did a thing to clarify. So, again, I don't know what the point of order is, but I'm saying, like, I think we just don't approve it for first read until we take another look, but whatever you want.
Kathy Ann, I would be, I don't know, I would actually, we have to consult the rest of the board here, but I would be perfectly fine with, if you wanted to attend our next policy meeting, coming and specifically telling us what about this policy is bugging you, so that we can look at it with a different set of eyes. So, and I'd be happy to do that. I can't speak for the rest of the committee, but I think if we should put that on the agenda if you wanted to attend our next meeting, and just kind of bring that up. But I think we have to have a motion to, table the vote on this one policy tonight.
The current motion on the floor is to approve all of the policies. Do you want to rescind that motion?
I guess so, yes.
And did you make it?
Yep, I think so.
You second the rescinding the motion? Okay, now we need a new motion.
Okay, me again. Alright, so I would like to make a motion to send the following policies to first read. AC-E, Title 9-880 Coordinator Job Description. ID, the school day, IMDb, flag display, and patriotic observances. And then we make a motion for the other one, right?
Second. Debbie, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor of passing those three for first read? Any, against? And abstentions? Now we need another motion about VDER.
I would like to make a motion to, send the policy BDE-R standing committee operating procedures back to committee, and we will look at it again.
Second.
Discussion?
Quick point, I'm on the policy committee. I think it's a good idea to talk about it again, and I also think it gives us a good opportunity to discuss perhaps like going down the rabbit hole with like really customizing all these policies, and maybe we should take a step back on some of these. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And all in favor? Against? And abstentions? Thank you. Now we move on to unfinished, oh, sorry. Now we vote to, I need a motion to vote to approve the proposed FY26 budget.
A second?
No, I need a motion.
Oh, sorry, I'll make the motion.
It's getting late.
It's getting
Hey,
late.
Marie, thank you. Okay, Jay, did you want to talk about anything before? No? Any, discussion about our budget?
I might not be clear on this, but I would move that we retain the current. Have you amended the budget with regard to foreign language at Freiburg Academy?
Yes.
Oh, you have, but not the math.
Correct.
Okay. So I just want to be clear that we're not losing anything. It sounds like we're not, by other than the experience of sending some kids to high school. Like that's a pretty valuable experience for like advanced learning, I guess. Are there any other reasons why anything else we would be losing by, I guess I'm asking Danette her opinion on this, and also the board. Is there any other reasons why we'd be losing out by not sending some of the advanced kids to Freiburg Academy? Like let's just look at the pros and cons a little bit, because in the scheme of the budget, it's like $2,000 per student per year. So if there's much of a value there, I think it's worth discussing.
Or any members of the curriculum committee. who
Or
would like
any
to
members
discuss
of the
it.
If we can take care of the kids at Ockett, we should do that. And that's a cost savings. We can't do it with language, but we can do it with math. Yeah, it would be great to send them over there, but we don't need to. We're not confidently everywhere we can.
Wouldn't that simplify the scheduling to have the math for the advanced students done here? Simplify the scheduling, because then we're not
Yeah.
trying to
Oh,
send
yeah,
them
right.
in transportation with off.
And to clarify, the languages was all languages, or like it was before? Like whatever language?
We haven't solidified a plan, but I would assume we would still be talking, like we have students taking Latin, Mandarin, French, and Spanish this year.
Okay, so we still have a motion on the floor to approve, or vote to approve the proposed FY26 budget. Any further discussion?
I just have a question for Pat. Could you, clarify just for the board and anyone in attending what, the, special ed funds go for? And I have it very clearly in front of me, but I think just a brief description from you would be helpful.
So, in the special ed budget is the salaries for all teaching staff including the coordinator of special services. They are not our employees, but we pay for their salaries. And we pay for all the ed techs who are our employees. There's also supply money for all the programs that require specialized instructional materials such as reading, life skills, math, whatever the programs need. Those are the bulk of the costs there.
Okay, any further discussion or questions? All in favor of, sorry, I lost my, thing. Voting to approve the proposed FY26 budget? Thank you. Against? And abstentions? Thank you, passes. All right, next up is a discussion for creating possible legislation ad hoc committee. Terry, do you wanna make the case for that?
So, I think we all received the regular updates about legislation, which have been coming at us rather furiously over the past few weeks. To me, it was a lot to digest and know how to approach it as a board member. And I think we get good advice from Robbie Feinberg, who provides all the information to us. And we were at the State House, a few of us went to the State House, the School Boards Association, and got a chance to meet with him. And he really appreciated that we actually took his legislative communication seriously. But I was wondering whether there's any value in having a legislative subcommittee to kind of look at everything coming our way and being able to pinpoint some of the more important bills for our school board to be considering, maybe weighing in on, giving testimony on, or having something to say about. And I just wondered what others thought about that.
I think in theory it's a great idea, but I'm concerned that, ad hoc to me means a short-term committee, like we did for MISA, like we've done a couple of times. So this doesn't sound like a short-term, this one legislative session, let's take a look at it. So that would be an ad hoc committee. And going back to what I was saying about the standing committees, they're listed in this is the procedure. The committees are listed in the policy. I think there's 7 of them. And if you add an 8, we literally will have people serving on 3 committees. My point, this says you can only serve on 2. So it's just going to be I think it's a great idea, and there's nothing wrong with somebody helping us with that who's interested and would be permanent agenda item coming back and telling us what they know. I think would be great. But I'm a little bit worried about it being a standing committee. So if you call it an ad hoc committee, then it should have a purpose and an end. Just don't know where to go with that.
And I didn't realize it said ad hoc, it would be an ongoing, it would be a standing committee, yeah. But I think you're right, everybody has a lot of work to do on the existing committees.
I think it's a really good idea, although I would note that I think all of the committees are directly related to conducting school board business, and this would be more like an informative committee. So I'm not sure that it really fits into the, like the mission of the school board committees, possibly. So, I mean, I would, if it was my decision, I would say maybe there's at least a couple people that might want to volunteer to do this in additional, as like a make-believe committee, like not an actual standing committee, but an informative.
Yeah, it is hard to know how best it would be organized. And I think this came up too in conjunction with, I'm gonna call on Jeanette once again, she hasn't been called on enough tonight, but a bill that came up we found out about it kind of last minute. It was about curriculum, and it was a lot in there that affects our school board and our work. And it's not great to get that information at the very last minute and know what to do about it. So it just seems like maybe we should just give it some thought and see how best to approach this. I don't know what the best approach is, but hopefully it's better than what we're doing now.
Is it possible to do it something like an advisory committee and people can just volunteer to be on it if they want in addition to standing committees? Is that a policy okay thing? I don't know about policy, but you just call it a kind of advisory committee or something. If you wanna be on it, great, and if you don't.
And I mean, I don't think any of us need more work to do and, have time to meet. I'm not sure how best to approach it, but maybe we could just give it some thought and just consider what might work. Discuss it, table it, maybe discuss it in the future.
I just had a thought while you're talking, perhaps a professional development for us, maybe this summer or sometime, because I think it's such a complex issue. Maybe somebody could guide us through, how do we know when to pay attention to what alerts should we be looking at? When should we start making calls? And I feel like the law is so, to me, sometimes the budget's scary, the law can be scary, and we don't even know how to approach it, I think sometimes. We don't know if we're powerless, we just wait for the law to come, or when we should do something. So maybe that's if we could think about some professional development around this issue. I don't even know if anybody could help us in 2 hours, but maybe they could.
I think I love that idea. I think that's great. And I'm curious about what we are allowed to do. So if we wanted to submit testimony on behalf of the MSAD72 Board of Directors, presumably we have to bring the testimony to the board to vote that we wanted to provide that testimony. Is that?
It would depend on how you're identifying yourself when you testify.
Right, yeah, I can provide testimony on whatever I want as
Sure.
myself, but if we wanted to, if there's a big curriculum bill that would impact us, so we would need to know about things. There are bill trackers, and in Maine, you can only introduce bills once every other year, so all of the bills that will be taken up by this legislature are in existence already, so, but maybe working with MSBA and MSMA a little more to highlight bills or ask them to provide us with something more, to do that filtering, because again, I don't think any of us has the capacity to do that because schools are such a broad topic. But just questions about what we're allowed to do procedurally and all of that.
That could be a conversation during our next board training.
And I have to say that, the School Boards Association folks were very excited that we went to Augusta. And Robbie Feinberg in particular was very happy that we actually read some of his newsletters. He might be a good one to come and give us advice on how to approach this, how to think about this as a board, so that might be a way to go.
So, sorry, Billy, go ahead.
One option